Thanks for listening to English Go Podcast. To listen without advertisements or to read episode transcripts, visit englishgo.co.uk for more information.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey there, it's Michelle Norris. I'm host of a podcast called Your Mama's Kitchen. When I travel, I'm usually looking for a way to find a taste of home when I'm not at home. And one of the things I love to do when I am at home is entertain. And Airbnb allows me to do that. When I was in California recently, I rented a house that had a great kitchen. And when we were sitting around the table, we're all thinking, we're in someone else's house. Someone could be in all of our homes as well. If you have a home, but you're not always at home, you have an Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, Randy.
Since we founded Bombas, we've always said our socks, underwear, and T-shirts are super soft. Any new ideas?
Maybe sublimely soft.
Or disgustingly cozy.
Wait, what?
I got it. Bombas. Absurdly comfortable essentials for yourself
and for those facing homelessness.
Because one purchased equals one donated.
Wow, did we just write an ad?
Yes.
Bombas. Big comfort for everyone. Go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase.
I've had a request from a listener. Do you remember those? I haven't done a listener request for absolutely ages. And part of the reason is probably because I stopped using, Instagram. And I think a lot of the requests I used to get came through that. But if you would like to send in some requests, if there's a topic that you want me to talk about, or I don't know, some questions you want to ask me, whatever, you can now go to englishgo.co.uk, and at the top of the site there's like a send me a message link, or something like that. You can click on that and, just write your message and get in touch. And who knows, maybe I'll turn your question into a podcast episode. Anyway, a person called Nami has got in touch with me and would like to know how I became interested in Japan, and also why I wanted to learn Japanese and not another language, why I didn't marry a British girl, and why I left my own country to go to Japan. And particularly sort of like, why Japan, why not Spain, why not the USA, why not France, why not China, or any other country? It's actually a really good question, and I think if you've been listening to this podcast for a very long time, years, then maybe I have answered that question before across like several episodes, so in lots of separate episodes, but I don't think I've ever had the chance to talk about it in one episode, answer all of those questions in one episode. So I'm going to do that today. So, how did I become interested in Japan in the first place? Nami suggests maybe it was when I was a child watching anime, Japanese animation. When I was a child, I didn't watch any Japanese animation whatsoever. I didn't even... actually, that's sort of not true. I think I saw about... maybe about 3 episodes of the original Pokemon series when I was 10. But, 3 episodes. I didn't know it came from Japan. And 3 episodes isn't very much, is it? Anyway, I thought it was American. All of the voices were in American, so yeah. So anyway, I didn't really watch anime and Japanese animation when I was a child, so it's definitely not that way. The way I became interested in Japan is very unusual, I think. I don't think many people become interested in Japan this way. I think most people probably do watch some Japanese animation or some kind of, some media from Japan introduces them to Japan. For me, I wanted to learn a language. I'm a programmer, So I know lots of computer languages, but languages, computer languages or spoken languages, I find pretty interesting. And I always wanted to become fluent in another language. I wanted to know what it was like to be able to think in another language. I couldn't imagine it. All I used to be able to hear in my head when I was thinking is English. And I thought, what must it be like thinking in another language? That's amazing. So at that time, I started looking at some different languages, mostly European languages, just to see if anything catches my eye. Catches my eye means sort of stands out and makes me interested in something. So I was seeing if there's a language that catches my eye or caught my eye. There wasn't really, actually. I either found the languages a bit too similar to English, or maybe I think there was a gender system, where like a car can be male or female or something like that. And for me, I'm sorry to say, that didn't seem very logical. And I like logical things, I'm a programmer, I like logic. So I didn't want to learn about different sexes of different items in my house. Maybe that was a bad decision, but anyway. So I looked at all these languages and nothing really caught my eye. So I was just wandering around my parents' house one day, and I noticed I don't know how it got there, but on top of the piano in my parents' house, there was a little game cartridge for an original Nintendo Game Boy. I think it was Tetris or something like that. I'm not sure what. And I just picked it up, looking at it, thinking haven't seen one of these for a while. And on the side of it, it said made in Japan. And I thought, I've never looked at Japanese. I wonder what that language sounds like. I don't know anything about it at all. So I went on YouTube and I listened to someone speaking Japanese, and I thought, that sounds quite nice. So then I looked at some grammar guide, just reading through it, like the first few pages, and I thought, wow, this language seems really, really logical, and that made me interested in it, because I thought maybe it's sort of similar to a programming language. And that's it, really. That's where all of my interest in Japan came from. And of course now that I've been studying the language for several years, I know that it's not really that logical at all, and I don't think any language is very logical. And I was hoping that if it is logical, that would make it easier for me to learn and easier to understand. So yeah, easier to learn. Of course, I was completely wrong, and I now know that it's the hardest language that a native English speaker can ever learn. It is the hardest. It's harder than Chinese, or any other language, apparently. So I don't know if I made the best choice. And if I knew that information, if I knew that Japanese was the hardest language for an English speaker to learn, maybe I wouldn't have picked it back then. It's my first language. I could only speak English. Why would I pick the hardest language for me to learn? But I just didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about studying. I didn't know how to study a language. I didn't know how long it would take. I just went in. It's just like, okay, this sounds fun. Let's start learning Japanese. So I think that answers your question about why Japan in the first place. That's the interest in Japan just came from the interest in the language. The more I learned about the language, the more I became interested in the country. But really, it was it was sort of like language first. Okay, so the next question is, why didn't I marry a British girl? I don't know how to answer that. I suppose I didn't have the opportunity to do that. I didn't find the right person to marry in Britain. Maybe if it's not like I had this girlfriend in Britain and then I said, sorry, no, I'm not going to marry you because you're British. I want to marry a Japanese girl instead. Sorry, it's nothing like that. I think you just end up marrying whoever you fall in love with, really, don't you? And you probably fall in love with people who you spend time with. And because I was really interested in learning this language, at this one point in time, most of my friends were Japanese. So I'm obviously spending more time with Japanese people, so I suppose something's going to happen there, isn't it? So I hope that answers that question. Why? So the next one is why did I leave my own country to go to Japan? I had been to Japan before meeting my wife, before she was my girlfriend even. A long time before I knew her, maybe even 10 years before I knew her was the first time I went to Japan. And I was much younger then. I was early 20s, in my early 20s, and I had a very positive impression of Japan. I came away and I thought, wow, I love this country and I can't wait to go back. And I even thought, maybe I'd like to live here one day. Not permanently, maybe it crossed my mind. Crossed my mind means maybe I'd thought of it, maybe it occurred to me. Maybe the idea occurred to me. So maybe it crossed my mind, but really I was thinking, yeah, I'd just like to spend more time here. Maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, I don't know, just sort of see how it goes. But I didn't think I ever seriously wanted to just say, that's it, goodbye England, I'm now just going to live in Japan. But anyway, the reason that I ended up coming to Japan was so that I could be with my wife. We got married and we couldn't live in England because my wife probably can't get a job in England. And because I'm able to work remotely, Japan seemed like the obvious choice for us to try and settle down in. But it's not supposed to be forever, and I do hope to return to England in the future, perhaps even the near future. And then after that, I don't know, will we settle down in England and stay there, or will we move back to Japan after we've lived in England for a little while? I really don't know. It's all up in the air, as we say. All up in the air means it's like throwing loads of things in the air and nothing's landed yet, so you can't decide anything yet. Everything's up in the air. So the final question is why Japan and not Spain, USA, France, China, or any other country? I think I've probably answered that in this episode now. It was just the case that I just saw that Tetris cartridge and I thought, let's try Japanese. And Japanese just happened to be a language that interested me. It could have been anywhere. It could have been any language. Sometimes I think, what would have happened if it had been French? Might be living in France now. What if it was Chinese? Might be living in China now. Russian, could be living in Russia. Who knows what would have happened if I'd picked another language? That's the sort of like scary and wonderful thing about life. These decisions that sometimes seem so small. You can't possibly understand the ways in which they're going to have an effect on your life. Sometimes it can change your life dramatically. So just like my one choice to think, I'd like to learn a language, and then seeing that Tetris cartridge has led me to this life I have now, living in Japan, which, when I think about that, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. It's a really crazy idea, but that's how it goes sometimes. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed that episode, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. If there are any more listeners out there with any questions, or you've got, English-related questions or anything like that, please feel free to send me a message at englishgo.co.uk, where you can find the link to send me a message. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Normally, being a little extra can be a bit much. But when it comes to healthcare, it pays to be extra. And United Healthcare makes it easy with Health Protector Guard fixed indemnity insurance plans. Underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, they supplement your primary plan, helping you manage out-of-pocket costs without the usual requirements and restrictions like deductibles and enrollment periods. So when it comes to covering your medical bills, you can feel good about being a little extra. Visit uh1.com to find the Health Protector Guard plan for you.
Thanks for listening until the very end of the show. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give my podcast a rating, or if you have the time, write a review. It's a really nice way of letting me know you enjoy these episodes and encourages me to make more of them for you. Thanks very much and have a lovely day.